welcome to this first look exploring session looking at A Knack to Know an Honest Man. It's a pleasant, conceited comedy called A Knack to Know an Honest Man, indeed, as it was sundry times played about the City of London, which we know quite a lot about, actually, its initial performances in the City of London. The Admiral's Men performed it from October 1594 for definite, and we even have box office receipts. You know, we actually know how well it did at the Rose Theatre over time, and yeah, it seems that it started off quite well, and it then improved. It seems that this was quite popular, though I haven't dug down into that very deep. Don't let that be a bias for you, because obviously this is printed about a year later. We don't know precisely how the script connects with the original performance, and there may be substantive differences. And also, this is one of those scripts where getting a really solid copy was tricky, so maybe a little wibbly-wobbly around the edges. But fingers crossed, everything will be fine. Reading through the first half of it's not a desperately long play. We can do it in 2 sessions. Reading along Lelio, Lucida, and First Senator today is...
Hello, my name is Lynn. I am a sometime college writing teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading Sempronio, Second Senator, and Franco is...
Hello, Aliki, Chapple, actor, translator, and theatre maker. I live in northwest England.
Reading Antimon, Annetta, and Zepherius is...
Rachael, Nicole, actor from one of the coastest with the mostest.
Reading Menalchus and Gnatto today is...
Briony, Sparrow in Lincolnshire.
Reading Coridon, Servio, Brisheo, and Fortunio most of the time is...
It's Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
Reading Marchetto, and possibly stepping in to read anyone else's part if there's a clash, is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author based in Romford.
And reading Phillip, a duke, which duke has been lengthily discussed, and Orphino is...
Hello, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer and director living in Germany.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. We don't quite have, as I say, really enough readers to quite do this properly, so there may be some dancing around. We may be on stage as ourselves at the same time, and at least at one point I'm stepping in to read Fortunio. We'll see how it all goes. So, with all those provisos, let's read Scene 1. We don't have act divisions for this script, as we know. So, enter Coridon and Antimon and Menalchus, 3 shepherds.
Here walk Menalchus on this grassy plain, and while the wanton lambs feed on these downs and hide them in the thickets from the sun that shine on Venus' stately builded towers, discourse to aged Antimon and me, doleful history and their dreary trail that erst befell in fatal Arcady, how poor Amyntas perished in his love.
You will me call to memory, sweet friends, the countless sorrows which will fetch forth tears from hardest rocks and move a marble heart. But though my mind in recollecting tears, with horror dumb and eke would choke my tongue, from telling tragic news I will begin.
But before tragic news can be inferred, enter Lelio and Sempronio to fight.
Stay, Menalchus, and hide thee in these thickets, for here come strangers who with ireful brows threaten some stormy troubles to succeed.
Here is a place convenient, Lelio. Yonder's a plain whereon our steeds may graze. Here is a grove backed with crescent hills, but save these trees, none else. Behold our fight.
Have I retained thee, caitiff, in my house, and made thee lord of all my best delights? And could thy impious heart so lewdly think dishonor to defile my wedding bed? Had Venus no other strumpet to content Sempronius' mind, but thou must choose my wife to make a stale to thy unbridled lust? Wretch, why do I thus expostulate? Come, I'll act revenge and talk no more. Even for our ancient love I'll give thee law. Disrobe thee if thou wilt, speak no more, for Lelio hath inexorable ears.
If words mongst faithful friends may not be borne, believe me, Lelio, thou deservest the home. Come, sir, for kindness I will let you blood, and seek to cool your fire of jealousy.
And here they fight, and Sempronio falls.
And I'll revenge my mortal injury. Now is his lustful insolence drowned in the sea of bloody tragedy. How now, Sempronio?
Fly, Lelio, fly! Thy jealousy robs thee of a friend. I pay thee with my blood for lewd desire. Go, hie thee hence, prevent pursuit. My miseries are done when I am dead. Thy miseries are too near.
Too late, remorse. Why dost thou follow me? Sweet Sempronio, speak but one word more.
I speak these few words more. Fly, Lelio, fly, amongst friends. It is too much for one to die.
Murder, my friends, pursue the murderer. Haste, Coridon, hie the Antimon.
Fly, Lelio, fly and save thy life.
Exit Lelio.
'Tis Lelio, shepherds. Haste and follow him.
And Lelio's sword hath slain Sempronio. Pursue you, shepherds, that lewd murderer, whilst I do bear this bloody garment hence to serve to Servio, tutor to this nobleman, and give him notice of his kinsman's death. Down with the murderers, fellows, kill his horse.
And exits shepherds. Enter an old Phillip and hermit.
What noise is this before my hold of peace? A little breach of peace to men of zeal is held a world of grief to cross his mind. Behold! A young man, weltering in his blood. Hie thee, old Phillip, shew thy charity, bear him to thy cell, and if thou canst, recure his wounds. If not, go bury him. The badge of contemplation's charity.
And exit Phillip, presumably with the body, the prone body of Sempronio there. Question immediately, Sarah.
Gratuitous horse killing.
Yeah, I circled that going. I'm suddenly textually unsure as to whether that's the correct word, but I couldn't think of a different word to put in its place. So I'm every so often I look, I go. I know there are some words I know are questionable in terms of something's gone wrong with the OCRing, but maybe it's just to stop him escaping.
It's a bit rough on the horse.
Yeah. But you know that they're shepherds, so they know, maybe they know to. It's just means to hobble it, you know, so it doesn't run. You know, I'm clutching at straws. I don't know. They could be all horse murderers. I don't know. Rachael.
No, I think that's exactly what it is. Just to keep him from escaping, because then he can only go so far on foot in a day as his feet will take him. Not we don't know their situation, if they have horses or something, or maybe if they do have horses or dogs or something, it'll be easier to catch him if he's just going on foot and he's like, he's like carless.
But you don't have to, kill the horse to stop him getting at it.
Yeah, but it could mean like stop. It might be that it's gone a bit far, but I genuinely don't know. It might be just this textual error that we're discussing at great length.
Maybe it was meant to be kiss. Kiss the horse. Kiss his horse.
Kiss his horse. Kiss my horse.
Fellows, kill his horse.
Yeah. Damn it. Anyway, let's having gone on this tangent, let's talk a little more. So it's like we've got these shepherds coming, going, or let me tell you my tale of woe, sadness, and then this fight scene happens at them. This duel, and suddenly it's like two things colliding. It's an interesting way of opening a play, actually, of just setting up one mood and then jarring it with another.
Well,
Aliki.
Sorry, but it's also related, right? Let me tell you a tragic love story, and here is somebody who gets killed because, or here is a duel that happens over Lelio's wife.
Yeah. It's almost like the story's coming alive, but it's not really the story. It's not quite Old Wives' Tale, but it's and maybe there's a sort of thematic overlap there. Other thoughts? Short scene, but no prologue. Elizabeth.
I like the way Sempronio doesn't seem to care for himself at that moment. He's just like, fly, Lelio, fly. And he's more concerned about how like Lelio should escape capture. And then also, I really like the way it positions the shepherds as almost like these harbingers of justice. They have to kind of track down the murderers, and they have to. So they were just shepherding, and they were just minding their own business, and suddenly they have to be the ones that kind of make justice happen.
Yeah, and especially at a time when you don't, law enforcement is a lot more diffuse. You don't just call in the police. You've the people you bring in. So yeah, it is your civic duty to step in and do these things. That way he immediately, having been stabbed, does go. How are you? Get away, don't get caught. Any other thoughts before we get deeper into the action? Is Sempronio alive? Aliki.
Yeah, I think he must be alive, right? It's too good a setup of, oh, he's dead, just leave him there a bit. Here, he is heavily wounded. Let's see if I can save him. But I really like how thoroughly the friendship is painted, actually, in this very short little scene. I'm pretty sure Sempronio did have sex with Lelio's wife, but yeah, it's nice.
Because I got the impression that you're when he says thy jealous fury robs thee of a friend. I get the feeling it's baseless jealousy.
But he also says, "I pay thee with my blood for lewd desire."
Yeah. You're right.
But maybe that was just the desire. It wasn't actually, maybe he did, there was a bit too much flirty going on, and but nothing was consummated. Oh, I want to know the backstory now. There are sources that we can go to and stuff that we can talk about later on if we have the inclination. But let's go on to scene 2. Let's develop where we're going, find out what's going on. Scene 2. Enter Lelio with his sword drawn. He knocks at his door.
Ho, Gnatto, open!
Open? What should I open? The cupboard?
No, knave, the door.
No, knave, the door? What rascal's that? Oh, master, is it you? I cry you mercy.
Sirrah, speak. Where's your mistress?
Marry, she's making wood speak and guts sing.
Wood speak and guts sing. How mean'st thou that?
Are you such a fool, you know not that? Why, she's playing on the lute.
And where is my daughter, Lucida?
She's killing a pride.
As how?
She is combing of her head. She will not have it frizzle.
Jest not, Sirrah, but call them hither quickly.
Ho, mistress, quickly, you must come hither quickly, or else my master will beat me quickly.
Enter Annetta and Lucia.
How now, my lord?
I am talking to myself here, by the way, so just brace yourselves. Or do you...
you are talking to yourself, aren't you? That's awkward. Who would you like to remain being?
Let's stick with Lelio.
And who's the other part? It's Lucida. Elizabeth, step in to be a Lucida, if you could, please.
My daughter.
Let's go from how now, my lord. The ladies have entered.
How now, my lord?
Annetta, call me wretch.
Why? What is befallen?
The worst of harms.
Where's Sempronio?
Ask not where he is. Thou must be husbandless through my misdeeds. Thou must be fatherless through my disgrace. Farewell. I dare not stay to tell my mind. I have no time, Annetta, to embrace thee, unless I hazard life to stay so long. Annetta, in a word, Sempronio's dead. His friends pursue me, and to save my life I must needs fly. You, for your maintenance, must presently the chiefest jewels seize. Farewell. My sighs and tears must tell the rest.
Whether cruel fortune, my sweet love?
Captives, sweet souls, in chains of misery.
Who shall relieve me when my husband's fled?
He that relieves the poor souls when hope is dead.
Who shall endow me in my father's absence?
True virtue, daughter, if he be in presence. Look on these, you care-desiring eyes. These cannot speak, for woe clogs up their tongues. The silent misery tells mourning grief. Go to, poor souls, and hide you from a storm. The hands are pressed to rob you of your own. Go in, poor souls, weep less, endeavor more. Haste forceth grief, danger keeps the door.
And they exuent. These scenes are fascinating sketches. They're really interesting because it's really interesting to see Lelio. You know, we've seen these people coming in, they're fighting, but now we see he's totally fucked everybody's lives. Sorry, apologise. I went a little far with my language there. We try to keep this a family show. But yeah, he's really, really messed up, and you know, especially he's hide your jewels, and you know that's dig them, put them somewhere safe because you know that's what you've got to live on. It's Briony.
I just really like what they did with the tone with Gnatto, because it entered straight away with these massively high stakes and lots of tension. Is he dead? What's going on? There's been a fight. Oh my god! And then he goes to the house and he's like, and the servant's like, what's that? What are you doing? And just messing him around. And I love that. Just a bit of a break, and then they're back to like the family then discussing, oh my god, this is bad.
Yeah, I mean the reactions to Gnatto may vary in terms of comedy. I mean, there's some very deliberate setup, response, punchline, knock gag kind of setups, but I do feel they work. Right, actually, I quite like it. It's almost like this is his normal banter with his master. You know, this is what Lelio has to put up with every day, rather than he's playing to the audience. That's in my mind anyway. That's my headcanon. Alan, then Sarah.
I think Gnatto is probably a stock character from The Clown. You know, dumb servant.
Yeah, it does definitely feel like clown material at play here. Sarah.
Yeah, just on that point, which wasn't the point I was going to make, but yeah, I'm the precise opposite of you, Briony, because I'm like, oh God, if I lived with him, I might be driven to violence. It's like, seriously, it's like, will you stop with the jokes already? Nobody cares. We've heard them all before. It's like you just have the impression that this has been, like you say, going on for some time, and it's like, oh, just suck him, just. But anyway, that was not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say was, Annetta presumably is the wife, and I find this dynamic really interesting because he doesn't make reference at all to why they got into the argument. There's apparently no relation at all to the fact that, you know, oh, you've been flirting with my wife. Oh, we're going to fight. Oh, oops, I stabbed you. Oh no, you're going to die. I've got to run away. Oh no, me mate, I've killed me mate. And then he comes home and speaks to that wife. And the dynamic is just so weird, given that that's the context.
Well, I'll go around the room for responses on that. Rachael, then Briony.
I mean, Annetta asks, like, the first, is this like the first or second thing? She asks, where is Sempronio? So I think that maybe there's some sort of conversation that they had prior to this scene. Maybe.
Yeah, they just feel like we've just been landed in the middle of a thing, and that there's almost data missing. Briony, then Aliki.
Yeah, I agree. I read it that she kind of they've already had their conversation about her and Sempronio thing. That's already happened. Like, because she didn't. Otherwise, she'd be more like, why? What's happened? Why did you kill him? Oh my God, what's? But she's quite like, oh well, great. What am I going to do when you've gone? More than what on earth's going on. Like, so I feel like she did know probably.
This feels like much more a pragmatic "what the hell are we going to do now" situation than the other thing. Leaky, then Rachael again.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on pragmatic. I'm not sure that they have had that conversation. Partly because Sempronio clearly lives with them, so the two men went out together, and only one comes back. Where is he? Is a reasonably straight up question. But the whole kind of thing of hurry up, I have to go, I'll tell you, I'll explain another time, I don't have time to tell you, I don't have time to hug you, bye, kind of works with the going immediately to the pragmatics rather than, wait, what happened?
And also, I don't think Lelio really wants to have that it's like he doesn't want to say. I mean, it's like, so where is, ask not. Don't ask that question. Well, let's just get on to the fact everything's gone horribly wrong. Rachael, then Elizabeth.
Yeah, I mean, that also, like, if that, sequence of questions were answered as to going in depth with Sempronio, it does slow down the pace of this. This very much like Lelio, I imagine, as he's speaking this, he's throwing things into bags and he's running out the door. And, it's a very, he's on the lamb now. He's a shepherd on the lamb.
Elizabeth.
Okay. I really like the line "Haste forceth grief, danger keeps the door," and I like the metaphor of the door because I know it's a joke at the beginning, but it's kind of like we're getting a little opening of a door on Lelio's life with Sempronio, because we see them immediately fighting, but they're actually supposed to be really good friends, aren't they? So I think Aliki was saying that they kind of live together. Am I right, Rob?
Yeah, that it's not 100% clear, but that could be a way of reading it. I didn't see a definitive on that, but
Okay, yeah. So I just like that we're kind of getting a door open on the home life and the sort of the daughters and the wives of Lelio and Sempronio quite early in the play. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, just following up. Yes, it does say in the script. I have retained the caitiff in my house, so he is a live-in on that sense. Lynn, then Sarah.
Yeah, I don't know whether Sempronio is a long-term guest or he actually lodges more or less permanently with Lelio's family, but obviously he's been with them in a kind of a long-term way, and I whether they've explicitly talked about it or not, I think that Annetta knows why Sempronio is dead, and Lelio knows that she knows, because she doesn't say, why did you do that? Because it's like, oh yeah, you saw him hitting on me, and so that's why you did that, isn't it? So whether or not he's confronted his wife about it, I think she knows he knows, and he knows that she knows that, yeah.
Sarah, and then we will move on.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Lynn. Whether they've had the conversation or not, it's like she knows. But I find that in itself, I just find that a really interesting, weird dynamic. Annetta's response is so interesting. The fact that she is so pragmatic. Does no one else find that weird? Because to me, it almost reads like she was expecting this news. It's like she doesn't go, oh my God, you've killed him. like, oh God, I could have seen this coming, or what? She doesn't do either. She doesn't react in either of those ways. She's straight into, who shall relieve me when my husband's fled? That to me says something kind of weird and kind of fascinating about who she is. It's a really, whether she knows or not, it's a super pragmatic reaction to go into, but it's also a really fascinating from a psychological perspective. And I'm wondering if she's just going to turn into this really fascinating character, or whether this is just a really weird way to write a scene and a weird way to write a wife. It could go either way.
Well, I think what's really nice here is that, you know, we've, with these very short scenes, I mean, there's so little dialogue that we've done. We've talked an awful lot about very little. It's giving us options, actually, and that's what we want from a script, even if it's, you know, it's moving swiftly. It's giving us, you know, an actor can play this scene, or the actors here can play this scene in quite a number of ways, actually. So that I like. I'll briefly go to Briony, then we'll move on.
The one thing I get from it, I don't think it's the response of somebody who is falsely accused.
We're all entitled. Maybe the play will give us more data later on. But to gather that, we will now go to scene 3. So enter Coridon, Duke of Venice, his son Fortunio, 2 senators, old Servio mentioned earlier, and the shepherd Antimon.
Servio, stand forth, if thy important wrongs be such, discourse to me and to these aged peers thy cause of grief, and what thou dost require.
Most worthy Duke, most worthy senators, I come before this sacred judgment seat, not trained by hate, as many worldlings be, but these old years enjoin to me charity, but urged by wrongs, compelled by heinous deeds, to quicken justice in your reverend ears, call to remembrance, prince and worthy peers, the faithful service for these many years that stout Sempronio did unto the state, in remembrance whereof old Servio, humbling him upon his knees, beseecheth justice gainst proud Lelio, who cruelly hath slain in single fight the sole and only heir of that stout race.
Servio, come hither and possess thy place. We will consider of thy injuries.
Still let these knees be wedded to the earth. Still let these tears run flood-like from mine eyes, until your grace do execute the wretch that thus hath slain my dear Sempronio.
Thou dost demean too much intemperance, thou foolish man, arise. Do not stain the badge of age and wisdom by misgovernment. Our senators of Venice are well schooled in such haps, and can doom of things not by thy tears, of sorrow-working words, but by the truth and estimate of acts. Thou sayest that Lelio slew Sempronio, and that assertion Servio must not serve to prove him guilty in these reverend ears.
What proofs produceth Servio to the state to prove Lord Lelio guilty of the murder, when, as through Venice, nothing was more found than faithful friendship plighted twixt them twain?
That love which was twixt them before doth make the murder far more monstrous. But princes, in a world behold the man that saw the murder and can witness it. Examine him and let his proofs prevail.
Lords, let not Lelio's honour blear your eyes. Speak, sirrah. Did Lelio kill Sempronio?
And shall please your honour's grace and worships, I, for fault of a better shepherd to Lord Servio here, and upon a time, let me see, 'twas yesterday, when my master's sheep and I were at breakfast together, I saw Lelio and Sempronio fighting so long that Lelio thrust his sword into Sempronio's belly, whereupon he died. and it shall please your worshipful worships, all this will I be forsworn too, with my neighbor Menalchus, and good man Coridon, and the rest that followed the cry, with Slip my dog and others forsooth.
This homely tale doth savour of the truth.
Truth soundeth sweetly in a silly tongue.
And craft often lurketh in a shepherd's coat.
Sir, you do abuse our profession. For craft, good man Coridon's dog, ne'er wore coat nor breeches, he stand to it.
My lord and father, break contention off. The proofs are found, then let it not be said, your mightiness should be miscarried by contradiction of 2 senators.
My son, my silence tells me many things. By it I find the depth of each man's drift, and gathering things by certain circumstance, am better able to discern the truth. Lords, take your places, and resolve on this, that Lelio, by a proved truth, is found to be the murderer of Sempronio. His lands and goods be seized to public use. We doom him dead. Besides, whatever man can bring his head unto the Senate house shall have 1,000 crowns for recompense, paid him forth of our treasury. Further, lest private friends should succour him, we do enact that whatsoever man shall dare conceal or hide the murderer shall be banished, and his goods confiscate. Senators, allow you this?
Justice this sentence, great Venetian Duke.
Limit thou yet thy stern austerity, most mighty prince, and be not so severe, though Lelio by the law doth merit death. There is no law that may defraud his wife, or leave his daughter without maintenance. Oh, grant thou this just favour, mighty Duke, that they may keep possession of his house, although the commonwealth command his goods.
A lawful plea, which may not be denied. Thy suit is granted. Register it down. Now, let our guard beset the city round, search every house to find out Lelio. Meanwhile, grave senators, bethink yourselves of some strict law against our sessions, that may repulse these insolent debates.
And they exit, and we've stepped into an episode of Crown Court. It's quite nicely balanced, actually. You've got you've got witnesses. You've got someone calling for mitigation there, someone calling for just what the law demands. Just don't punish the wife and daughter, which is, which he goes, yeah, no, okay, that seems reasonable. And so in many ways, that's early modern justice. Everyone seems nice. They're doing their jobs, they're making their case. It seems like a fair shout to me, Aliki.
I'm curious about those last 2 lines of the Duke's. Some strict law against our sessions that may repulse these innocent debates. What insolent debates? This? Like having somebody come and say murder? No, because he's judged well. What's going on there?
That is a good question. I do not know. Maybe he wasn't impressed with the shepherd. Sarah, then Alan.
It's a good question. I think it's to do with the fact that there's an argument going on, which to me seemed perfectly reasonable. But does it not tie back to what Fortunio says about breaking contention off? The proofs are found, then let it not be said your mightiness should be miscarried by contradiction of 2 senators. I think is he kind of having a little bit of a dig about the fact that while it's all very well to have debate and senates and senators, actually I'm still in charge. and you just all need to damn well remember that. Is that what's going on there?
Yeah, maybe the senators are much more heated in their debate than it came across, and that Fortunio does, because Fortunio, who was played by the same person as Servio, so there was a little confusion there. Steps in and says, that's we've got enough now, Dad. Move the room along. Alan, then Lynn.
I think actually what's happened is, if you look at the top of the scene, it reads to me as if Servio has actually gate crashed a meeting, and the last 3 lines of the Duke's speech is trying to get back to the agenda.
Oh yeah, I like that.
If you look at the way it does, because I remember struggling with this when I was looking at the original OCR and trying to get my head round what was happening, but I think that's what's gone on, that effectively you open with a Senate meeting going on with the Duke and his advisors. Servio comes crashing through the door out of breath and goes through this ish spiel, and then the Duke at the end is just trying to get it, say, right, okay, we've dealt with that issue, now back to the agenda, please.
Yeah, I like that thought, that it's sort of meeting interruptus. They're actually here to discuss the drains, and he turns up. Okay.
Well, they've got a problem in the Far Canal.
Yeah, which raises interesting questions and issues. Lynn.
Right, we're talking about infrastructure, and this guy comes in. I do find it odd that the Duke pronounces on Lelio without any kind of a proper trial. I mean, I realize this is Italy and not England, but a lot of times in these early modern plays, the justice system in other countries is imagined as similar to the ones that the writer is clearly familiar with. And even in this era, a person could not be condemned in his own absence. He had to be there to answer to the charges and have a chance to defend himself. It was unusual for someone to be convicted in absentia. They don't even have the body. So it's like, oh, I believe these shepherds. I don't even see that Sempronio is necessarily dead. And we know his body's disappeared. So being convicted without a proper trial and without having a chance to defend himself, it feels really weird.
Who's next? Briony.
I just thought, because there's this, and I get that it's the senators that are saying that shepherds can't really be trusted, and then the Duke's like, no, they can, it's fine, let's kill him. But yeah, it just seemed quite weak. There's nobody. There's one witness that people in this, for lack of a trial situation, somebody's like, well, we can't really trust the witness, but then it's like, yeah, it's fine, let's just condemn this person.
I'd love to say I took all that in, but I have just been watching Rachael being attacked by a dog. So, but yes, I do take your point. I apologise.
What is his deal? He's just like, pay attention to me.
Taking lessons from Scooter.
Yeah, I'm wondering, with all of these points, Briony's point on top of that following also all the points actually that sort of been made, that because we're talking about these feel like really quite nice sketches, but this is one where I'm starting to go, feels like there's a bit missing here. Feels like we've got the pertinent bits and that maybe there's something slightly more complex going on here, and we've just got more of a précis of what's going on than elsewhere. Still working. I'm still sort of liking it, and at play speed, nothing's leaping out at me going, why is that happening? In a way. But anyway, we need to move on. So in fact, we're going to run Actually, we'll see. We've got a short scene, then we've got a long scene. I'll see if we run the two into each other. See if there's interesting things to say about scene 4. Enter Brisheo and Franco.
Sir Franco, what said old Servio to my money?
Marry, sir, as soon as his 4 eyes had overlooked it and his fingers, trembling, had overtold it, He took it up and very furiously cast it into hell.
Into hell, knave? What meanst thou by that?
Marries her into his chest, I mean, the very bottomless pit of usury, where I am sure God never came, but the devil and his angels fill it up to the brim.
Well, sir, I'll leave you jesting, and go will the master of my bark to unload the wares, and see that at the crane you hoist them up.
I will, sir.
And exit Franco. Enter Lelio.
Where shall I hide me from two searching eyes? Oh, whither may I go to save my life?
Methinks I see my Lelio quite dismayed. What aileth thee, my son?
Oh, stay me not, Brisheo, for thy daughter's sake. Be not thou the means to bring me to my end.
Be not so foolish to mistrust thy friend. Thy troubles taint my wheel.
Father by marriage, friend in my misdeed, thus fortune hath depressed my weak estate. Sempronio, found in Venice for my friend, dear to my soul while he held virtue dear, incensed thy daughter and my wedded wife, who scorned to defame her ancient stock, this burden his lewd suit within mine ears. Hereon, in a rage, I drew him to the field. There he lies slain. I fly to save my life. Now, as thou art a father, for my sake, pity thy daughter and my woeful child, for by the law I am condemned to die. Farewell, the rest who cannot tell, if you inquire.
Stay, Lelio, stay. If for my daughter's sake thou slewest thy friend, I, for thy virtue's sake, will keep thee close within my house, and ship thee privily this present night, so unperceived thou shalt escape away.
Hast thou not heard the sentence of the Duke, that whoso succors me must lose his goods and live a banished life?
Why thinkest thou threats shall make me leave my friend? When is the time for friends to show themselves but in extremity? I bless sweet fortune that gives me such means to show how much I favour true nobility.
What God will have, folly may not withstand.
Go in, my son. There will be day, the night, the evening, the morning to thee, my son. The day to help thee fly from foe's pursuit, the even to give thee rest from all thy toil. No day nor night shall I retain my rest, till Brisheo know that thou art safely fled.
Exeunt. Oh, so we get a bit of background. So the wife definitely rebuffed within earshot of, and it's an honour thing. Going. That's how it all sort of kicked off. But then we got the father-in-law who says, I don't care if I might be punished. You're my son-in-law and friend. I will harbour you. That's quite heartening. It's a nice little scene in many ways. But there may be other thoughts and reactions. Sarah.
I'm finding this play really interesting in the way it contrasts the kind of pastoral thing, with shepherds, with the fact that it's set in Venice, because the very fact that you have the Duke and the senators debating there, that to me felt quite Venetian. And then you've got this business with Brisheo seems to be a merchant, and he's talking about. I mean, it sounds as though he's been bribing Servio for some reason, presumably to do with business, presumably to do with trade, but maybe not. Maybe there's a deeper plot than that going on. But then we've got the business with go to the master of my bark to unload the wares and see that the crane, that you hoist them up. So there's like, on the one hand, someone seems to really understand about, Venice as a seaport, as a place of trade, as a republic with senators and all of that. But then on the other hand, you've got all this weirdness with pastoral shepherds, which I get is part of the it's part of a pastoral tradition of comedy, but even so, it's just a really interesting contrast within a play that this person seems to know about Venice and what Venice stands for. but is trying at the same time to do a pastoral comedy.
Yeah, that detail at the beginning about this money going into his bottomless pit of usury, and the joke, the devil and his angels as in money,
Yeah.
ha ha, bum bum. Lynn.
Yeah, I think I think Servio might literally be a usurer. He's a money lender. So Brisheo is actually paying back a loan with exorbitant interest. One would assume. So it might be a bribe. So he might be a usurer metaphorically, but he also might just literally be a money lender.
Or that there's just complicated family business going on, because these are all related as well. It's not in that sense.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, that the Servio is good friends with Sempronio, and so that sort of, it's urban, but everybody knows everybody's business and everybody is related to everybody else. So it's an interesting world.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was really thinking about time in this play. I think that there's almost like an overlap between the scenes in terms of, I think it's linear, but in terms of chronology, I think that there's some sort of overlapping going on between the scenes as we move forward. And it's very difficult to say how much time has passed between the scenes, or if any time has passed at all.
It's very fleet of foot. It's and that sense of if there is time in real time happening, it's being compressed a lot. Any other thoughts before we move on? Another short scene. We're going to have one that's a bit chunkier in a minute. Briony.
I just the thing with the paying of Servio, it just kind of reminded me a little bit, and maybe I've just read it wrong, but almost of like the like Robin Hood protection racket business. If he's bribing him to make sure that his goods safely get where they're supposed to get. I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe actually, the whole having a duel fighting honor thing. We start moving towards a mafia setting. I thought that changes the tone of the play quite considerably.
We have had a horse killing. I'm just saying.
They're not afraid to go there.
Yeah, okay. I'll go briefly to Lynn.
Actually, so it's a logistical thing. It looks like, while we have Lucida coming up, why doesn't Elizabeth continue to read that rather than switching back to my original assignment?
If it doesn't clash with Marchetto, then yes.
I see.
Yeah.
I don't know what the better choice.
We'll see. This is the scene where the clashes hit, so it maybe I'll step in. I've got to already step in to be Fortunio now anyway, because Fortunio is going to be talking at the same time as somebody else. So yes, so I don't know who Alan is turning into now. He's turning into somebody during this long scene. Servio, yes, he's turning into Servio for this scene. While I'm becoming Fortunio. So. And we'll redistribute anybody else as we go, but odds on we may be on at the same time. It's confusing. Scene 5, relatively long, might be broken down into parts. Enter Sempronio, disguised with Phillip. Sempronio muted.
Here, leave me, father. Walk no further forth. Leave me supposed dead, revived by thee. Hide thou my name, and cover from the world my fortunes and my birth, and all misdeeds. Here is that Venice that beheld me fond. Here is that Venice that shall behold me wife. Look how thy science hath disguised these looks. So hath thy counsel reconciled my heart. I hate all worldly pomp. I scorn lewd lust. This tongue from tempting in dishonest love shall labour to relieve the innocent. Farewell. Thou knowest my vow, which I have sworn to keep irrevocable, never to disclose my name until such time as thou release me.
I will conceal thy name, thy fortune and thy birth, thy friends, and what thou wilt I will conceal. And now, redeemed from the jaws of death, Love deeds of virtue, worthy gentleman, and every day discovering of thy wound, think how thy God hath thus preserved thee.
Phillip, farewell, and welcome poverty. From sinful proud I wax a cynic pure. Die fortune, die deceit, flourish true repent. Sin folly breeds, a good man's discontent.
Enter Fortunio and Marchetto with the guard. Marchetto, if thou lovest me, grant me this. If that thou enter Lelio's house thyself, I may accompany or tend on thee.
Your lordship cannot will or wish the thing, wherein Marchetto will not pleasure you. The guard already hath beset the house, and I will knock and call for entrance.
Tell me, Marchetto, ere thou go, what precious thing is hid in Lelio's house that likes thee best?
I long to be the lord of all his coin.
And I long and labour for his daughter's love.
But by your patience, worthy lord, I deem my choice is best. For whoso gaineth wealth hath beauty tied as captive to his coin, and worldly pleasure tendeth on his train.
But in respect of beauty it is vain. Riches are baits to teachers' niggardliness, but beauty to be bound teaches meanest men.
Jove first won Danaia in a golden shower.
But Dahlia's so oppressed with power. Wealth is the body's slave, but beauty guides the mind and feeds the sense and animates the wit.
But wealth by golden gifts commandeth it. The fairest ladies for a little bribe will let Diogenes disport a while. Gold is a god in this desired age.
More corrupt are men that use it so.
Why, what art thou that listens our debate?
Even he that scorns the world and spurns at fates, he that thinks wealth a burden to the soul, and he too fond that fondly useth it, he that thinks beauty but a frail delight, the nurse of idleness, a bait for fools, unmeet for princes who should only think to beautify their souls, not to infect their hearts with outward shows.
What new-bred cynic doth disturb us thus?
He that can teach thee how to choose thy goods. Join both thy hands and blow them mightily.
To what intent?
Do what I bid thee, man.
I pray thee please the cynic, fit his vein.
Fellow, behold, I will effect thy will.
And Marchetto blows his hands.
What profit hast thou by that breath of wind?
Why, it warms my hands.
But now the heat is laid.
It is.
Such is the gold, and so it doth abide. A breath of pleasure, wavering but a space, maintained by mighty care, but quickly lost. Now, Fortunio, let us see what beauty is. Seest thou not this sprig? Is not fresh and green? Now look again. A little violence makes it deformed. Why, such is beauty, sir, a bait wherewith the world doth angle arts, entangle towardness, and forceth reason, traverseth advice. I pray thee, let me serve thee, Fortunio.
To what intent?
Because I hate thy course, and will instruct thee, if thou be wise to mark, and prove, and know an honest man.
Well, I entertain thee. Thou shalt tend on me, but first tell me, whence art thou born? Whence art thou? Where wast thou born?
I first was born to be gentle. Nature enforced the seed of good and bad in me, till death threatened to whip me for my sins. Mercy stepped in. Repent, shed tears, and kissed me. Devotion held me, and new christened me in my own blood that dropped from this wound, and called me penitent experience, et ferua vostra fetissima seridore signore.
Speaks in parables.
Let him attend. 'Tis time to knock up Lelios' household train.
And knocks on the door.
Who knocks there?
The prince's guard.
Guard? We have no need of guard. Go to the tailor's. Keep out, I say.
Sir, if I catch you...
Aye, and you can.
What a fool is this?
What an ass is that?
Enter Annetta and Lucida.
What noise is this? What mean this troop of armed men about my door?
Madam, the Senate, by a late decree, hath sent us to make search for Lelio, and if we find him not, to seize his goods.
All what is his, my lord, you may command. The scourge which God afflicteth on our heads is for our sins. We take our harms and agree. Though when you will, search where you please, and leave the rest for this poor maid and me.
And exit Marchetto and the guard. Did ever eyes behold so fair a face?
Look not, Fortunio. Eyes are arrows keen that wound all unawares. They're not seen. Why weeps this tender maid? Why grieves the mother, as I should weep? I will weep for both. Fie on Sempronio, that was so unkind.
Fond man, why dost thou torment thyself?
I beat Sempronio for abusing thee, thou loose, unbridled man, the cause of harms. Pardon, Annetta. Pardon, Lucida.
What ails this aged man he stormeth so?
Some lunacy surpriseth me, I fear. Art thou Sempronio?
This is Annetta, that Lucida, thou Fortunio. But I am not Sempronio, but penitent experience.
Fair Lucida, as bright as the morning star, dry up thy tears. Let not thy father's fall depress thy courage, but revive thy spirits, and think thy beauty sufficient to wed thee presently.
Fortunio, now my wedding days be past, I have that husband which contents me best.
Words founding death, may I thy husband know?
Why, sir, I late am wedded to my woe. With him I live, he doth enjoy my heart.
Tush, madam, that marriage may be quickly made. Beauty to dwell with woe were too bad. Hear me a word. And here they whisper. And here I feel we need to pause to try and take on board some of the things that are going on there. So it looks like a moment there that Sempronio lets the cat out of the bag by suddenly getting a bit cross. And Fortunio goes, "Hang on, aren't you Sempronio?" I said, No, I'm not. No, think of someone else. And that it doesn't, so there. But yeah, we have to get to the motivation part of this. So Sempronio is in disguise and is pretending to be someone else. And the reason why, because Phillip asked him to. And that's the reason. And Phillip does not go into any details, which is fine because the play doesn't care. It's just so that he gets to do the disguising and stuff. Thoughts, Lynn?
And you can sort of see the catastrophe. You can see the big scene. How the plot is going to unfold with this scene. So they're going to catch Lelio. They're going to be about to execute him. Sempronio has to make a choice between breaking his vow and saving his friend's life. He doesn't know what to do. Phillip shows up in the right nick of time and says, yeah, tell them who you really are. And says, I'm not dead. So you can just sort of see the final scene of the play in your crystal ball here.
Yeah,
It better go like that now.
Yeah, if they all die, that'll be a lot sadder. Now, I thought, I thought they said they weren't going to take all their goods earlier. Did I misread that, or did I get
the wife and daughter get to live in the house, but they're going to take all his stuff.
Oh right, so they've just sent the bailiffs around. Okay, Briony.
I was just going to say, I really hope his disguise is a little bit better than his fake name. They could have brainstormed that a little bit more, I think.
It's clearly the Phillip has been performing morality plays to him while he's been recovering from his injury. It's just going, that's all he's got. That's all he's got. Yeah. Yes. penitent experience. It feels like it's John Bale wrote it. Rachael.
Is Marchetto coming there on behalf of the Duke and those people? Did I miss that? Because he's not in that scene with them, so he could just be somebody completely different who's taking advantage of the situation.
Well, the way these things work, I think in practical terms, yes, he's just come from the Duke. He's an officer of some description. But the way this kind of thing works, he might have bid for the opportunity to raid people's houses. It's interesting the way that Fortunio, who we have met earlier, as the son of the Duke, is there. He's there for love. Or at least to do some wooing, whereas Marchetto just goes, no, I think I'll take the hard cash, actually. I think this is... because oddly enough, I'm not the son of a duke. So there's really interesting things here, and we've just got hints of what the title's called. It's always nice to have hints of the title in the play popping up. So, yeah. And I feel we've had this scene before in another play of the bailiffs turning up, and I can't remember which play it is. Just sit on that in the general thoughts. Briony.
I like that we just had, as the tensions building, we've just had a little pop up from Gnatto. I hope we have more of that.
Yeah, I still don't actually get what most of Gnatto's jokes are. I don't know. Guards, go to the tailor's. What is the tailor's gag? I'm sure is it something to do with thimbles or something. You know, guarding your finger. I don't know. It feels like there's a joke there, but it's not fully formed. You know, why did the koala fall out of the tree? Because it was dead. It's that level of gag that I'm feeling here. Briony.
I agree with you. I think there's stuff that we're not getting with it, but I think the main gag of him generally is to slow things down when the pace and everything, the tension is up there. Let's just pop him in for some stupidness that the people, even if we were getting the jokes, the people that he's saying them to wouldn't be, and it's just messing up the pace. But I like it.
Yeah, and the way it feels like the way the back and forth with Marchetto works as well. You know, with Marchetto probably going to Fortunio, what fool is this? And Gnatto, of course, knows to play the audience. You know, what an ass is that? And you know just by the rhythm of it that it's actually going to get a laugh because it's nicely structured. Okay, I think we should continue the scene. Marchetto has presumably gone into the house, done some rifling, and now re-enters with the guard.
Madam, I see your husband have prevented us. Well, let him fly. His chests are sealed up. The house and some small helps are left for you. But if in this your extreme misery you will vouchsafe to follow mine advice, I will assure you good and wealth enough.
How, my lord?
Forget thy Lelios love. Grant me possession of thy private bed.
Avaunt, unreverend pay lord. Touch me not.
Here's first a knack to know an honest lady.
'Tis but a trick of youth. Refuse not me.
Away, dishonest man, abuse not me. My poverty is happiness to me, so long as virtue guides and governs it. Come, Lucida, beware of subtle men. Fly from these sirens that enchant chaste hearts. Come, let our toiling fingers get us bread, before suspect should prejudice our names.
Good madam, but a word, and then no more.
Am I being Lucida?
I think is Lynn free at the moment to be?
I can do this. I was trying to help by suggesting that, and it wasn't helping. Okay. Sir, in a word, you shall not tempt me more. I am too noble to forget myself, too chaste to be a prince's concubine. Offer your lewd assaults among your courtesans. I am no stale for your unhonest low. And so, farewell.
Sempronio, do so.
Do so as thou hast said. Thou shalt be crowned with honour, courteous maid.
Despised and scorned, what should I but despair?
Use force, my lord, and win what you would have.
Oi, here's a knack to know an arrant knave. Virtue ne'er taught thee that. She sets a bit upon her bridled lust. She hath a water of a holy zeal to drown the shame of vain affection in.
Peace, foolish fool. Thou doest abuse our talk.
What do these flatterers where free men walk? Hark, my Fortunio, I will tell a tale. An ox in Memphis with his pouring tongue licked in noxious weeds did so foretell his following death. A wretch like to myself, beating Marchetto's cloak, doth prophesy his following shame, unless he mend his life.
Enter Servio, Franco, and the guard.
It's true, my friends, I heard the pulley creak. The stirring crane did make a mighty noise. And by a rope I saw descending down the cursed murderer, Lord Lelio. 'Tis Brisheo succours Lelio, none else.
What news, my friends? What makes Servio up?
Captain, Lord Lelio hitherto hath kept in Brisheo's house, and this night from his lee is slipped away. I saw the anchor shift, the sails new hoist. Ask of this peasant if I tell not true.
Sirrah, didst thou see Lelio?
I married it, sir.
What need we more?
Marry to know when I saw him last. For the first time I saw him was at his marriage.
Unbend thy musket, soldier, in the lock. Press me his thumbs and make the slave confess. And here, terrible torture of being pinched. Pinch him.
I confess, Lelio was shipped in our crane this night. My master Brisheo took him in. I agreed with the shipmaster, made clean his shoes, and so laid him in the rope of our cranes and let him down into the ship. And he has gone into the Florentine camp.
So now let him loose. The truth apparent is.
Marchetto, go prosecute the Senate's will. Attach Lord Brisheo, seize upon his goods, come break ope the door, and exit omnes, except for Sempronio and Servio.
Soft, gentle friend, a word or two with you. From whence proceed these troubles that arise?
For young Sempronio's death, my honest friend.
Why, gentle sir, is young Sempronio dead?
Why doubtst thou that? I tell thee I have sought and found it so.
Where was he buried?
Why, shepherds brought me tidings of his death. Some ravenous beast did seize him for his prey.
And what hast thou lost or gotten by his death?
I have annual rents, £2,000, the worth in plate of twice so many more. A few such breakfasts, friend, would make you rich. I'll tell thee, every day throughout the year, I'll lose a kinsman to possess so much.
Then not for love thou bearest Sempronio, but for a colour of thy honest mind thou dost pursue Lord Lelio in this fort.
A fool were I so to accuse myself. Think like a worldly man, that so it is, and so it is indeed. Who longeth to be rich, let him forget God, but for a dozen years he shall be rich, well landed, stout, and brave.
Wipe out that water from thy eyes, my friend.
What aileth me?
Why, thou art blind and canst not see.
Thou wilt not make me mad. I'll take my spectacles.
Tush, they avail thee not, for thou art blind indeed. Look in thy heart, and find an honest thought. Then will I say thy eyes are perfect clear. Look in thy conscience, find it not corrupt. Then thou shalt see without thy spectacles.
Away, thou art a knave, I say. Tempt me not.
Yes, thou art an arrant, covetous knave, for all mine uncle.
And exit Servio, which is a good thing, really, because enter Fortunio Marchetto with Brisheo, suddenly changing hat, and his two sons.
'Tis true, my lord. I favoured Lelio's flight. My love has crossed the rigour of your laws.
Did you foreknow the penalty, my lord, that dooms you banishment and loss of goods?
All this I knew, but none of this I fear. True friendship lighteneth all these burdenous harm. If Lelio be escaped, I fear no wants. My exile to me is liberty. Go, fruits of nature, I will leave you here. Go toward children. Thrive among my friends. Glut you with my excessive vanities. Feed your unclean desires by spoiling me. I wreak them not, so Lelio lived to me. Nor some age, nor limbs with sickness tired, nor you, my sons, nor all my other friends, not fortune nor entreat shall keep me back.
Whence grows thy resolution so austere?
From honesty, my friends, which governs me. First, Lelio, amongst our chiefest citizens, made me his father and his vowed friend. Next, to defend my daughter from defame, he ventured life. And shall a little pelf, these two young boys, make me forget my friend, that ventured life and virtue for my sake? No, I love my Lelio, do what fortune can.
Here's a knack to know an honest man. Keep him in Venice, my Fortunio. When he is gone, few such will stay behind. For here our wonted fate is turned to fraud. Our perjuries are counted policies. Our oaths are gates to catch the simple fort. Our courtesy is but nodding of the head, discovering the cap, or bending of the knee. Swearing, I love your honour, good my lord, the best dissembler hath the bravest wit. Come, let me love thee, for thy Lelio's sake, and when I meet him next, I'll tell him more.
Exit Sempronio.
Dear father, who shall succour us when you are dead?
Your diligence, which can command the proudest misery.
What if your friends repine and will not give?
Your hands, my sons, must teach you how to live. Courage and industry can never want. Vain idleness grows wretched by itself. But diligence enableth porous men. Well, I must to prison, lord, or I must hence. Tell me the Senate sentence speedily.
Hie thee from Venice speedily, for if thou stay but 2 hours' space, thou art adjudged death.
Farewell, my lord, and farewell, gentle friend. Adieu, my sons. Nay, weep not. Commend me to your sister. Love her well. Defend her honour as you love your lives.
Where nature parteth us, there sorrow thrives.
Exit Brisheo.
Come, let us let the Duke and Senate know the whole success and fortune we have had.
They exit. A lot of interesting things going on in this scene. Yes, as the title of the play gets mentioned more and more by Sempronio, who manages to get it, not only say it, but make it rhyme. Because that really makes it land. Well, let's watch out for any additional cans or any other words that rhyme with man that we can have in place. And it's interesting the way that Marchetto is being set up here as... you know, the person who's whispering the bad things as bad advice and things of, you know, take the money, suggestions of force. He's not coming across as the nicest of chaps. Whereas the Fortunio is at present just asking. It doesn't feel too awkward yet, but then maybe I was just reading it, so who knows. Thoughts from the room, Lynn, then Aliki.
I might be connecting dots that are a little too far apart here, but it seems to me as we're painting the court characters as really venal and corrupt and self-serving, and the ordinary people as basically honest. I mean, it's not looking good for Fortunio. He was the one who said, "Oh, come on, Dad. He clearly did it. Let's condemn him." And then he comes and tries to make the condemned man's daughter his concubine. So it looks like he was motivated by, oh, well, if she's impoverished, then she will. I will be in a position to be able to pressure her to sleep with me. And Marchetto is obviously just motivated by greed. And it turns out even Servio was not entirely motivated by love for his friend kinsman. It's like, I inherit his goods. Like, yeah, I hope the Duke has a little more integrity than the people around him.
But Sempronio is taking on a teaching role here, and so
Yeah.
I'm interested in actually the sort of levels of venery. They're not coming across as wholly nasty people, and they're coming across in slightly different ways. Aliki, then Rachael.
So I'm going to agree with Rob there. I think we mentioned before the morality plays, and I think this is a very morality play setup. We have the young prince, the Duke to be, who has bad advisors, but Sempronio has arrived as a good advisor to set him on the path of virtue. And we don't know if he's going to go that way, but that's what Sempronio is about. We have the good angel and the bad angel set up. I also, what I was going to say before is I really like how much attention is being paid to the difficulty that women find themselves in. I'm enjoying, they don't speak very much, but both the mother and daughter here, their reputations beset, are behaving very honorably in incredibly difficult situations. And I like that.
A Rachael, then Sarah.
I think for Fortunio, he gets to take a different route. I don't think he has to be as hard, heavy-handed as Marchetto, because he is in a more powerful position. Because the line he says, "Words founding death, may I thy husband know." It's kind of, why is he bringing up death there? Like that it sounds like it could possibly be a subtle threat if he wanted to take it that way. And I know the punctuation isn't, some of these periods are supposed to be commas or whatever, but it's not phrased as a question. It's phrased as just a sentence. And there's a subtle, commanding nature to him, I think, a little bit slightly, perhaps. But yeah, I do like the characters of the wife and the daughter too, because there's that pragmatism that people were talking about before, that this is just the life, and whether they like it or not, they've got to accept it and move on with what they got.
Sarah.
Yeah, I just talking about Fortunio there, I'm finding him quite interesting, because it's like Sempronio is this sort of teaching character, and it's interesting to see how people react to him. We don't get a verbal reaction from Fortunio to what Sempronio teaches him. He kind of then gets distracted by the business at hand. But it's interesting that he doesn't then force Lucida when he's been advised to do so. So that implies that, okay, maybe he's been distracted, but it could be that he has actually listened to the teachings that have been given to him. So there's perhaps some path there, redemptive path his character might be able to undertake, just because of Servio. Like Servio, when he receives his teaching from Sempronio, he immediately swats it away and he leaves. So it's like Sempronio is becoming the kind of litmus test for all the other characters. Yeah, there are degrees of corruption here, and some people are maybe able to redeem themselves, and some people clearly are not. But all of them are given a choice, because all of them get to listen to Sempronio pontificate, and then some of them react very strongly to it, and some of them it's a bit more ambiguous.
But also, Sempronio is basically going along, and watch what that person just did. Okay, that's a knave.
Yeah.
That's not a knave. These are lessons, people. Keep an eye out. Elizabeth.
That's exactly what I was about to say, because Sempronio's job is kind of to embody the title of the text. And he says it like, why he is an knack to know an earnest man, keep him in Venice, my Fortunio. And I like the idea that there's something, he implies there's something innately honest about Venetians. When I assumed that it was the opposite, that Venetians were dishonest and almost political.
Yeah, and the other, where with other plays of the period where generally the setting outside of England utilises otherness in that way. I think there's also the question of the tone of the play. I don't think it's a real interesting question about where tonally this play wants us to land. At the moment, it doesn't feel like it wants us to land too heavily on anything. I don't know how high the stakes are for anything here. Lynn was already predicting how the play is going to end. And so there's an interesting question about how true that's going to be. I mean, Lelio's fled the country, so he's safe. It looks like we're going somewhere else. Aliki, then Rachael, then we must move on.
So the bit I want to underline, and it's been implied in everything we've said, is that this isn't just about Fortunio's personal virtue. It's about training up the next leader of the state.
Yes, no, I like that. Rachael? No, you're good. Okay, let's go to scene 6. We'll run scene 6 into scene 7. Scene 6 is very, very short, and either works as a coda to the last scene or something into the next one. Scene 6, enter Franco and Gnatto.
What, Franco? Well met. Whither art thou going?
Faith, my master's gone away, and I'm going a-begging.
A-begging? Why, 'tis the bell occupation thou canst use. A beggar hath 5 of the 7 liberal sciences at his fingers' ends. He hath music to sing for his dinner, he hath logic to cavil with the constable, he hath rhetoric to persuade that he should not go to the stocks, he hath geometric to measure out his bed in the plain field, and he hath astronomy to shew a warm sun from a cold shade. Nay, I'll prove that a beggar devours the 4 moral virtues at one breakfast. He's valiant when he needs must fight, he's liberal when he hath any money to spend, and he is true if there be nothing to steal. A beggar, why, 'tis the ancientest occupation that is. It began at Adam, and will never end till doomsday. But, Sir Franco, I'll tell thee what thou shalt do. Go and profess thine old occupation again.
What's that?
Oh, 'tis the best occupation that is for thee.
Why, what profit can that yield?
Why, being always drunk, thou shalt learn never to be sober. Oh, the virtue of a drunkard is much. He speaks little because he sleeps much. He stands not upon opinion, for every little straw throws him not down. He is not proud, for his head is ready to salute every post. Nor he is not envious, for he tears his stomach open to every man, and sleeps as soundly on a dunghill as on a down bed. Marry, one thing he is subject to impatience, for once a day he sees the devil.
And truly for that cause I'll bless myself. I'll to the Duke of Milan's camp, to my master, and there profess beggary. Stay thou here to profess drunkenness. And so farewell.
Exit Franco.
Go thou to beggary, I'll to the butchery. The proverb is true that I tell to you, 'tis better to be drunken and drowsy than hunger-starved and lousy.
And on those wise words, enter Gnatto. Scene 7, enter Annetta and Lucida with their work in their hands.
Come, Lucida, here let us sit a while. My father is banished, and my husband is fled, and that which grieves my heart. My brethren poor, and we not able for to succor them.
Good mother, cease your plaints, for here comes one.
Enter Sempronio.
Fortunio, my master, mad in love, must have this Lucida, or he will die. And I, supposed to be a worldly man, must be a mean and stale to win his love. But whereas penitent experience pleads for lewd lust, the lecher never thrives. But here I bring the sacred chest of gold, gifts which, if proverbs lie not, will tempt the gods. Yonder fits chastity at beauty's feet. Madame, God speed your works, and speed your friends, and speed your foes, but speed your virtues more.
Welcome, honest friend.
Soft. First prove mine honesty, and hear my message, ere you praise me much. And this is it. A lewd and lusty lord, trained up in idleness, hath late beheld fair Lucida, and longs to lie with her, and hoping by rewards to win her love, he sends this cascanet, clogged with gold and pearl, first to Annetta, to make her a bawd, next to fair Lucida, to make her a whore. But if Annetta be as chaste and wise as when she counterchecked Sempronio, if Lelio's virtue live in Lucida, return me back with strokes and railing words, scratch out my eyes for bringing lewd attempts. But if you mean to try a trick of youth, and vain necessity kills honesty, here take this gold. But herewithal receive 1,000 curses from Sempronio's ghost. This halter to dispatch thee, lest thy guilt should breed more dishonour in thy father's ears.
Who sent thee, fellow, to seduce us thus?
Fortunio, Lucida, a mighty man, but if true virtue govern thy effects, make thou a marble rock of this white breast against the sea of every loved assault.
The strangest message that I ever heard. Fortunio showed but little wit in this, to trust his secrets with so severe a man.
Why, Annetta, I have dealt in honesty. I have discoursed my master's mind at large, and therein showed the duty that I owe. Next, like a counsellor and friend betides, I give thee this advice, and therein let thee know how much I honour noble Lelio. I think upon Sempronio.
Why, what of him?
Oh, imperiously he fought to win thy love.
Tell me the rest.
I cannot choose but weep amain.
Why, didst thou know the man?
Oh, no, not I, for I am penitent experience. Madams, I know gold cannot conquer you. Fair Lucida doth scorn Fortunio's lust, and for that virtue which I see in both, receive the gifts I will bestow on you. To thee, chaste madam, Lelio's best beloved, I give this scalp, and pray thee every day, beholding it, to think upon thy end, which fight will so restrain all worldly lust, as thou shalt die to sin and live to God. To thee, fair Lucida, I do present this book, whereon is written thy father's pedigree in famous line. Each morning, when the golden sun appears and gilds the mountain tops, peruse it well. There, reading, mark but honour of thy race. Take heed lest lewdness do thy fame deface. Reply not. Get you in, the crocodile is coming forth. Here, put them in at door, that weeping will devour you. This is the festival of Holy Mark. Yond come the pompious show.
And enter the show on the stage. And I'm going to say that Sempronio says all this dialogue that comes. We're very unsure what's going on here, by the way.
Vanitatum et omnia vanitas, vain ceremonies, customs of the world. This day our lords of Venice wanted be to sacrifice in triumph to the sea, and march in pomp unto the Archidon, for this great state, built in a starry nook, at angle of the Adriatic Sea, for happiness and long continuance, more blessed than Rome itself, vain customs doth observe. But yond come my master and Marchetto forth, now that you long to see the guise of sin, how one makes two, and two increaseth four, and sin in gathering head grows infinite, let him behold examples of these loves.
And enter the original Fortunio and Marchetto.
Here comes my cynical attendants. We shall have news what Lucida intends.
Go cast thee headlong from a mountain top, or in the deepest seas go drown thyself. Go live, thou wretch, among the barbarous beasts, where Italy may never hear thy name, for virtue vows to laugh in looking on to see you perish in your peevishness.
A dreadful entrance to a doleful tale. Speak, man. What news from Lucida?
She spies thy poisoned message in thy face. She scorns thy gifts, and vows to hate thee ever. To thee, lewd lossel, fair Annetta sends a troop of curses, chained with bitter sighs. Come, lords, let's lighten us of heavy things. There lies my cloak and cap. Now throw your swords aside, and let us three, like fleeting unicorns, run blushing through the streets into the wood. There let Fortunio cut Marchetto's throat, that counselled him to ravish chastity. There, penitent experience, with his bat, shall beat Fortunio's tender, wanton sides that fought to spoil holy virginity. Last, myself will sit and tear my hair, and weep until I choke myself with wet, to see nobility so much disguised.
Hence sorrow, boding messenger, be gone. Rage now shall overrule discretion. Gather thy friends. Marchetto, follow me. This night we will surprise them in their beds and teach them kindness, who will learn no love.
Here is perfect valour in a noble man.
Here perfect villainy sprung from thy lips.
And exit omnes, apart from Sempronio. We're just going to pause there very briefly because we've still got a bit more scene to do this session to fill in. But yeah, we've had two very interesting scenes. We had the bridging scene. I think we should be honest here with what Gnatto is doing there. It's separating scene 5 from scene 7. Though I really quite liked it, actually. I thought there were some nice bits in there. There was some nice riffing. A drunk man sleeps as soundly on a dunghill as on a down bed. I quite liked. And then we get this scene of, it's like he's being he's almost tempting himself by delivering this temptation. Look, here is this gold, but this is the correct course of action, which is to refuse the gold. And then he just sort of almost lets the game away, and you think that maybe is there a moment going on between him and Annetta there, just a little bit. And he's sort of, and then Lucida just says, did you know the man? No. Just, yeah. There's a really interesting little bit of stuff going back and forth here, and then this show, this procession that is happening in Venice here, the crocodile coming forth. And I'm assuming that Annetta and Lucida have exited, that he shooed them in, and that this speech is actually to the audience. And actually, the connection now with Sempronio and the audience, these speeches are really landing really nicely. And he doesn't come across as just a really pompous jerk, which he really could do. But yeah, thoughts on the room? Anyone want to throw anything in before we finish the scene? Lynn?
Yeah, I was thinking about this in the last scene, that Sempronio is this kind of the airdropped in from a morality play. I think it's really helpful that he is not just sort of this sort of self-righteous Puritan. He's flawed. He's fallen. He's redeemed. He's made mistakes and regrets it. I think that's important. I think that helps his character not be too annoying. The other thing I was observing here is that I actually really like the Franco and Gnatto scene, because this play is a little too concerned for my taste with promoting those middle class values of hard work and honesty. The women come out with their sewing in their hands, like they have to make their living with their fingers ends now, but they're honest. And they somebody said that to her, to Annetta's little brothers too, that well, you'll just have to work for a living. Working for a living is that's what honest people do. And Franco kind of undercuts that with like, begging is the oldest profession, and it's just you're a scholar, and if you're a beggar, and so that undercuts that sort of didactic thread that I think I see.
And then Fortunio, I was defending him earlier. I feel bad now because he's gone full on. Yeah, bad stuff. Potentially going down. I'm hoping for good things to come out at the end of this. Aliki.
I love, in a horrible way, how he sounds like a modern men's rights activist. And teach them kindness who will learn no love. How can you be so mean as to turn me down?
Yeah. Anyway, we should finish the scene and then gather additional thoughts. In a sense, it's sort of a splint scene. This is effectively an additional unit of action, but Sempronio holds the threads together. For we have enter one of the senators with Brisheo and with his two sons, Orphino and Zepherius. Let's see what happens here. This play's really interested in what's happening between family generationally as well. That's something to talk about later. So consequences working their way down the generations. Anyway, enter senator and sons.
Now, gentlemen, what seek you at my hands?
My lord, we hope that for the ancient league betwixt our father and your worthy self, you will vouchsafe somewhat to succour us.
Gentlemen and beggars, fie for shame.
Pay not our hopes with scorns. Our father used you better in your wants.
Thou talk'st of matters 40 years ago. The world that now differs from that was then. Men are more near and dearer to themselves. But if you want a cup of drink or so, stand at my door. My man shall bring it you.
And exit the senator.
Ha ha! A worldling right, the poet's song was well applied in this. For, like the ants, they eat the gain of men's wealth, but fly them like the fiends where they are fallen. These Cicero and Aristotle termed a troop of servile, base, dishonest men. Stay, here cometh more. Stand by a while. We shall behold the world anatomized.
And then enter the other senator reading a letter, and we infer that this is indeed the senator speaking, though it's a bit awkward that it's Aliki at the moment. That would be bad. Elizabeth, are you free? Read second senator, please.
The Florentines of late have fought a field wherein Lord Lelio hath deserved well. For why? His country scorns to succour him. Lord Brisheo tendeth on the Milan camp, and hath achieved many a worthy deed. I joy to hear of Brisheo's good success. Your merchandise are sold, and we have sent bills of exchange to receive the money. A merrier heart hath treasury for that. How now, you saucy youths? Stand back, I say. What make you lingering here about my doors?
I hope your lordship knows us well.
I would you knew yourselves as well as I. Go, get you hence. It is for young men to ply their books, to practice music and delight in arms, and not to loiter up and down the streets.
Dishonest lord, our father in thy wants did use thee better, and wilt thou leave his sons in misery?
When Brisheo and I meet, we'll talk of that. Let him come crave himself. I'll answer him.
Why, he is banished, and may not return.
The better cause have I to cast him off. I will not raise my house to raise you up. Let me see. You are two good tall youths, and fit for soldiers. Go you to Milan too, where your father is. Live by the wars, and do not vex us in peace, for you get not a penny of me.
And exit other kind-hearted senator.
Strange repulses make me desperate. Speak, brother Zepherius. What shall we do?
How now, young gallants? What distempers you? But grieve not thus at worldly chances. If sin were dead, virtue were never seen. Are you the sons of Brisheo, gentle friends?
We are the sons of hapless Brisheo.
And these rank churls, whom erst your father tied, by many great deserts unto his house, have left you thus in your extremities. Give me your hands, you relics of renown. Now have I got an empire to my mind, a vent for my religious charity. Hold, take these jewels, buy you what you want, but heedfully beware of gourmandise, lead you a sober, decent, comely life. Remember truly the effects of things, before you shall affect and make your choice. Hear, in a word, who made the planets 7, first sent down love and charity from heaven, but avarice was christened in hell. Speak, holy men, have I not counselled well?
What man art thou that favourest misery?
Even he that thanks my God that send me aught whereby to succour you, and call me penitent experience, who gives thee thanks for what thy father did, who gives thee thanks for what thy brother did, and charge you both, as you are noble born, to let me see your weapons presently.
Take them and use them, gentle-minded man.
Here are the blades well polished, fair and bright. Were it not pity, sirs, that these swords should rust within their sheaths of bliss, while some Venetian lecher and his mate should ravish thy sister and deflower thy niece?
What swords are these, friend? Report the truth.
This night, Annetta and fair Lucida, if gods and friends forsake them in their wants, by lawless ravishers will be surprised. I mean to succour them. If you refuse, give me my jewels, for I will succour none that leaves their sisters in extremity.
God leave us if we forsake our friends, or leave our sister in extremity.
And take more jewels. Hire tall men, and underneath this wall, watch all this night if any man shall attempt to break your sister's door. Be stout, assail him, kill him, for his cause is bad.
Lead us the way, and we will follow thee. For in our sister's cause we'll spend our blood.
The gain is yours, the glory must be God's, who made you to defend the innocents.
And they exit. Well, this is a series of manoeuvres I wasn't quite expecting. Of course, we're forgetting, yes, Sempronio is holding this big wad of cash that is that everyone seems to have forgotten about. The rich, that's the kind of thing they do. They just leave this stuff lying around, and basically hires them to defend Annetta and Lucida. Following a scene with the two senators, which one of the speeches was given to the wrong person. Apologies for any confusion at home. But one of the senators basically says, "You want some assistance? I can send you a drink if that'll help." And the other one says, "Join the army." Aliki.
Not just join the army. Go find your father in the enemy city and join the army there. I mean, straight out treason.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the through line of which senator was on whose side earlier. There's some really interesting motivations going on here. Rachael, I think you're waving. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that Jules played a more serious part in this. I'm thinking back to the golden age last week, and how money is referred to but always doesn't always make a reappearance. And this is kind of like a Chekhov's gun, where it does come back and it does actually mean something. And I wonder if that was playing against I don't know, cliche where people get bribed and then they accept the bribe. And maybe it's not that these rich dudes have forgot where the money's gone. Maybe they think the women have accepted it and then turned them away. But really they've gone and they've, passed it off to somebody, and they're going to hire, a small little army of guards to repel them. And I don't know, this is just a very... like that these women work for themselves and they're not going for these jewels or this easy life. I think it undermines, some misogynistic ideas that people could walk in with having towards women, thinking that these women will take these jewels instead of, being able to work like everybody else.
Yeah, the play's doing some really interesting business here, and doing it, and using that prop. I mean, you're calling it, there's Sempronio's gun, Chekhov's gun, Sempronio's jewels, in this play. Reusing a prop more than once. I like that. A prop having an ongoing function within the narrative. So yeah, we're halfway through the play. We don't have a lot of time for final thoughts, but where do we think it's going? Actually, I mean, earlier Lynn made a very confident prediction, but now halfway through, and not quite necessarily where we'd put an interval. Just going, I don't really know where this play is going. I mean, I'm sure at some point Sempronio will reveal himself and all will be well, but where the stopping points along the way are going to be, I don't know. This is really interesting me. So final thoughts around the room. Elizabeth, do you have any final thoughts about the play so far?
Yeah, again, we have a play that has, if we're doing our bingo, the early modern disguise, if we're doing our Beyond Shakespeare bingo, the disguise, I found it really interesting that Sempronio comes on disguised with Phillip. So I assume that he's also disguised as like a hermit, a kind of, and it's just interesting how much attention that he's getting from the rest of the cast, from the rest of the characters in the narrative. I'm still rooting for Lynn's prediction on how the play is going to end, but I still don't know where it's going.
Sarah, any final thoughts?
What Elizabeth said, pretty much. I find it really interesting as well, like the fact that everybody's paying attention to him, because the whole thing about hermits is that they're hermity. They go off and live on their own, and everyone ignores him. And the dynamic I find really interesting, of like the fact that he's come in, and he's kind of this hermit has inserted himself into like Venetian society, and is just basically like telling everybody stuff, and is becoming like a barometer for that society. It's just really interesting that they are just all accepting him, and yeah, no one's actually said to him, go back to your cave or whatever. But I am still really intrigued by the character of Annetta. I'm not sure how genuinely interesting she is, or whether I am projecting stuff onto her. But I think the very fact that her character is ambiguous enough in order to project stuff onto her is interesting in itself. I think there's more than one way to play her, and I'm going to be very interested to see. I'm assuming she's going to remain a virtuous wife and be reunited with her husband, but by the end of the play. But who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things it is easy to project onto those characters because they do say so little. I mean, there is an awful lot of economy in the dialogue for most of the characters. Actually, very few long speeches apart from Sempronio, who's started to get quite verbose. But we can forgive because so far, actually, it's quite tight. I mean, that speech when they're doing the procession. This carnival, this is what the state is like. This is the excess that is here. And it is that question of how would you portray him today as well? Because it's like he's gone off and done the Alpha course or something. You could take it down that route, which changes the spin of how you read the character. Yeah. Because then he becomes quite different and more problematic. But then maybe actually that's quite nice to give us a few shifts and ambiguities. Alan, do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, it does seem to work quite well. There don't seem to be that many wasted words. It's moving at a good lick. It almost seems to be following the unities of time and place. And in some ways, it does look like a convenient point to put the break in, because all of the action up to now has been in Venice or its environs, with a possible exception, the first scene, which is obviously not the centre of Venice, because unless someone's found some pasture on some Mark Square. But effectively, it's all been in one place. And I think from here on, we're going to start zipping around the place a little bit more.
Yes.
And I'm having to be careful about commenting, because having looked at the script originally when we were working on the OCR, I have got some ideas about what's happening going on, although the brain has lost much of the detail.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, we putatively talked about maybe one scene. There seemed to be some evidence that maybe there was something missing there. But if there is something missing, it's not getting in the way of the play at all. It seems to function very nicely. Briony, any final thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things Alan just kind of touched on there that I want to hammer home as a point is that he does so much with so little. These aren't the most fully drawn out characters, but like Sarah said, you could play them in a variety of different ways that would change the story, and the way that they act tells you, or it gives you some hints about how you could play them. There's some really, really interesting words, like some of the use of language here I really love, but the thing that interests me the most about this is the pace, and the way that at the start you are so dropped into the action in those first 3 or 4 scenes, where like it really does feel like stuff's happened already and you're catching up with it, but in a good way, not in a confused way. And this constant pace, but then occasionally they'll throw in a bit of comedy to slow it up, but not in a. I find it really interesting the way he's playing with pace with this.
It feels a very pragmatic text. Very briefly, Anne.
Yeah, the one thought is against the pace is that in the show that we've talked about, A would be expensive and more difficult to put on because you need extra bodies, costumes, and all the rest of it. And it would slow the pace down a bit, I think. And I'm not quite sure why it's there, other than, well, we happen to have these nice posh costumes out the back and thought it was about time they got another outing.
That's a good question. That's a good production question as well. How slow they talk about march in pomp, but actually that could be ironic. You know, it could be quite big. And actually, I don't know how expensive it would be, especially as you can just put everyone in masks as well. Venice invites that, so you can basically have anyone who's not on, i.e., everybody apart from the next 2 entrants. To make that work. So it's actually that could be done with relative economy. Anyway, final thoughts from Rachael. Any final thoughts?
Annetta talks so often in 4 syllables. I mean, that's just she's so clipped, but I think it's purposeful because Lucida, you know, she talks a little more. I think Annetta is a woman that puts her foot down, and then also Sempronio. There's some parts with his disguise where he's kind of bumbling or something like that, but I think when he's offering the jewels to them, that's kind of, you know, it could be a double bumbling. Like, is he stumbling over his redemption, or is he playing a part of a tempter for a second? Like, you refused me. Are you going to take this now? And are you going to give up now? And then I think she answers him again with another clipped answer. And it's, you know, that she's like this Iron Woman. And then also the women in this are working, and it's the sons, you know, the brothers, Annetta's brothers, who go begging. They don't go and look for jobs or look for something else. They're begging. And I think that's something of like expectations, you know, flipping expectations on their head.
Lynn, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this will teach me to be a predictor. I mean, the end could shake out technically the way I described earlier in this session, but I certainly didn't see all these complications coming, and the kind of dark turn that this has taken, that the threat of sexual violence, and then the possibility of other kinds of violence in order to thwart that sexual violence. So that threat that things could get really, really ugly, as Fortunio tries to make good on his threat, and that his brothers try to thwart that. I really didn't see the stakes getting this high.
Yeah, Sempronio going, be stout, assail him, kill him if his cause be bad. I mean, that's hard line. Aliki, final thoughts?
So I know we tend to be suspicious of virtuous characters uttering virtuous things, but I had to say I really enjoyed reading Sempronio, and I'm all for him. He's just, I mean, he's saving women from being raped, and I think that's a big deal.
So, so far, this has intrigued us muchly. We've got one more session. As I say, it's not a long play, and it's definitely moving very nicely so far. Lots of potential pitfalls in where the action is now about to go. So there's an awful lot of fingers crossed for the curse of the final session not to strike. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.
Weep less, endeavour more.